You're watching the 247 Sports YouTube channel. I'm Steve Wiltfong, and this is Commit Central, the #1 platform broadcasting the top prospects in the country announcing their college decision. Tonight we have Brayden Platt, a top 247 linebacker out of Yelm High in Washington State. The Blue Chippers finalists are Oklahoma and Oregon. 247 Sports tabs Platt as the #1 recruit in the state of Washington, the #8 linebacker in the land, and the #72 prospect overall. He'll play in the All-America Bowl in San Antonio following his senior season. A hard-hitting, fluid, and explosive football player that can play sideline to sideline and also be physical around the line of scrimmage. Platt helped his team win a state title as a junior. He's also one of the top track and field athletes in the land, excelling at an elite level in the shot put, where he's a 2-time state champ, the javelin, where he's a national champ, and the hammer throw, and he'll also compete in track on the next level. Let's go to the Evergreen State and welcome in Brayden Platt. Brayden, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Please introduce us to the people sitting next to you.
Well, this is my mom. It's her birthday. And then this is my dad.
Well, happy birthday. What a special evening here as you are about to announce your college decision. But first, what were you looking for in a school, Brayden? What were those important factors?
What I was looking for in a school was a family, and then also a school that can develop me to play at the next level.
Well, you got a chance to take a good look at both Oregon and Oklahoma, and the moment has arrived for you to let everybody know where you'll be playing your college football.
All right. So first, I'd like to thank God for putting me in this situation and being where I am able to be at today. Also, I'd like to thank my mom and my dad for making me the person I am today. Also, my brothers for pushing me and making me the best version of myself. And also my previous coaches who have pushed me and made me the athlete I am today. But with that aside, we're going to dig into the cake real quick. On the slides.
Should I tilt the camera down?
Show it. Let me just grab it.
Okay.
I'll be going
Top 247 linebacker Brayden Platt commits to the Oregon Ducks. Brayden, are we able to get a look at that cake? Brayden, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oregon rises 3 spots to #11 in the 247 Sports recruiting rankings with your commitment. Hey, can we get a look at that cake?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that cake.
Hey.
That's pretty awesome. Well, congratulations. I don't know if Dan Lanning and company are eating cake right now, but what excites you about the Ducks? What made you go with Oregon?
What excites me the most is the winning culture that they're bringing with Coach Lanning, coming from Georgia, obviously, and winning a natty there. I think that they could do really good this year with their first recruiting class, like being able to recruit. Yeah.
Talk about Coach Tosh Lupoy. I know he was very involved in your process. Same with Tyler Dean. Just what impressed you about those guys?
Coach Lupoy is a really nice coach, and then he has great energy. Yeah, and then Tyler definitely played a huge part. He showed us like how Oregon's like a family, and yeah.
Was there anything in particular that put Oregon over the top there at the end? I know you looked at both those programs closely.
Yeah, for me, the deciding factor was like the family culture, because I know that they could both develop me, but in the end, it really came down to like the culture and how I would be raised, not only as like an athlete, but also as like a person.
Well, thank you, Brayden. Congratulations on your commitment to the Oregon Ducks. Again, Oregon rising to number 11 in the 247 Sports recruiting rankings with your commitment. Happy birthday to your mom. We'll let you guys polish off that cake. We're going to bring in my colleague, 247 Sports national recruiting editor, Brandon Huffman, to break it all down. Brandon is not eating cake. He's got barbecue going over at his house here for Labor Day. But first, we're going to break down Brayden Platt. Nobody's seen more of this young man than you. What do you love about this pickup for Dan Lanning and the Ducks?
Well, I just love the competitiveness of Brayden. When you watch him play, I mean, this is a guy who loves football. He loves contact. He does not want to shy away from contact, whether he's playing linebacker and he's knocking you over, as he's stuffing the run, as he's dropping into coverage, or if he's playing running back, where he's a 1,500-yard rusher who likes to run through you rather than around you or away from you. You just see physicality is part of his game. You don't see a lot of linebackers that are big-time throwers on the track circuit, but that's what he is. And you look at the strength, you look at how physical he plays, his football IQ, his ability to diagnose plays, to read, react, to get into the backfield, to hit quarterbacks, to drop into coverage, cover tight ends, cover running backs, even cover receivers. You just love the way he's a throwback. He's a guy that would have really thrived in football in the 90s and the early 2000s, but he's been able to evolve as a player, been really good in coverage, playing in 7-on-7 for FSP the last couple of years. I love him. He's my favorite football player in the state of Washington, number one ranked player in the 2024 class, and a guy that I think Oregon's going to be jacked to get to campus in a few months from now.
Well, Brandon, you make some good points about how physical he is. When you looked at Oregon's linebacker class beforehand, and it was a good one, Kamar Mathudi, Dylan Williams, Kingston Lopa, those guys are kind of your rangy, long body types. They have a lot of upside. Those are exciting pickups for Oregon, but they're moving to the Big Ten, and that is a physical league around the line of scrimmage, and they needed a linebacker like Brayden Platt as they're transitioning. He's 240 pounds, yet he's one of the fastest second-level defenders in the country. He's one of the strongest second-level defenders in the country. He's going to be able to hold up. He's going to be able to play around the point of attack against those physical running backs that Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, Wisconsin, and others are going to throw at you.
You know, he was a guy that Michigan coveted. They had him out for an unofficial visit back in April, really thought he was kind of that classic Big Ten middle linebacker. And I think that that's something that really started to trend things in the direction for Oregon. You know, he really liked Oklahoma. You can't say enough about the job that Brent Venables did with Brayden Platt, got him out for an unofficial visit back in the spring, had him back for an official visit in June. But with all the talk about Oregon trending towards the Big Ten, and I think him understanding that, that's going to be a big stage to play on, Oregon became that much more appealing. You can't underscore how important track was in Brayden Platt's decision. Steve, as you mentioned, he's won a couple of state championships in the shot put. He's been to Eugene numerous times for track meet, and that was something that really appealed to him. Was the last visit he made for USATF Nationals in Eugene, coupled with the head coach who's a defensive guy. I mean, what Dan Lanning did at Georgia, what he's done at Oregon, you could see why he was appealing to Brayden Platt. He wanted to play for a defensive-minded head coach, so it's no surprise it came down to Dan Lanning or Brent Venables. But he reminds me, when I said he may have been in 20, 25 years where he would have really flourished, he reminds me a lot of a guy like Andy Katzenmoyer. I know I'm speaking to some old-school college football fans, but just those pure middle linebackers who want to hit you and let you know that they just knocked you over. So he'll end up playing in the Big Ten, but we're not just going to see him from September until December or January. You're going to get to see him in the spring. Track is such a huge part of the process for him. He's a guy that aspires to be in the Olympics in 2028 when they're back on the West Coast in Los Angeles, and it wouldn't be unrealistic to think that he'll have a chance to be a thrower, but make no mistake, he's going to Oregon to wear those green and gold uniforms and anchor that defense for Dan Lanning the next few years.
Brandon, as Oregon tries to finish with a top 10 class, again, they've kind of been regulars in the top 10 rankings at 247 Sports here. The point of attack is a major point of emphasis for them moving forward. Brandon Baker's our top-ranked offensive tackle. They're a finalist for him. He's expected to make a college decision in the near future. Eddie Pierre-Louis is a guy that they've coveted out of Florida. I think that they're battling Oklahoma for him, UCF and some others in there. Jordan Seaton out of IMG Academy is another offensive lineman that I wouldn't be surprised if they earn an official visit from. And then we'll see what happens there. Two guys I want to ask you about, though, Brandon, with moving back over to the defensive side of the ball. You have 5-star defensive lineman Aiden Breland and top 247 defensive lineman Jericho Johnson, who you know I absolutely love. I think he's one of the most ferocious players at the point of attack in this class. Those are two guys that Oregon has had at the top of their list for the entire cycle. Where do the Ducks stand with those two defensive linemen as guys that could potentially open up some lanes for our guy Brayden Platt to make some easy stops?
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about what Dan Lanning did at Georgia and you look at the strength of those defenses that he had at Georgia, were with the defensive line. And you just mentioned the number one defensive lineman / number one player in Southern California in Aiden Breland, and the number one defensive lineman / number one player in Northern California in Jericho Johnson. So you add a player like that, and maybe you add two players like that, that gives you some of that SEC front seven that Oregon will be able to take into the Big Ten. I think they're very much in the mix for Aiden Breland. They have been for a long time. And then with Jericho Johnson, he named a top 4 last month that included Oregon. It also had Washington, USC, in Utah in that Final Four. But it really has felt like an Oregon-Washington battle for Jericho Johnson all along. And you mentioned Tosh Lupoy earlier in the broadcast. Tosh Lupoy is an East Bay native himself, just like Jericho Johnson. He's been running point on the recruitment of Jericho for some time. He's been up there a couple of times for unofficial visits. He took an official visit back there earlier in the spring. He'll be back for an official visit this fall. He'll be back for a couple of games. So Oregon very much in the mix to add the top lineman in Southern California, the top lineman in Northern California. And then when you mentioned that the linebackers of Kamar Mathudi and Dylan Williams, now you throw Brayden Platt in the mix. That's the kind of front seven that makes the transition from the Pac-12 to the Big Ten a much smoother transition.
He's Brandon Huffman. I'm Steve Wiltfong. You watched Brayden Platt, the number one prospect in the state of Washington, announce his commitment to Oregon. Please head over to Duck Territory for more on this commitment. That's www.oregon.247sports.com. Please hit like and subscribe on this video, and we look forward to having you tune in for the next one of the top high school football players in the country to announce their college decision.